Hello everyone, I am Easy History, and today we will talk about the history of USA. Indigenous tribes in the Americas have a long history dating back to before the 15th century. They descended from the peoples who crossed the Bering Strait from Asia, who are believed to have entered North America approximately 25,000 years ago at the end of the last ice age. In 1492, Christopher Columbus, with the support of Spain, reached the Americas, which were later referred to as the New World. European colonization of the Americas soon followed. Starting with Spain, English Puritans also migrated into North America in search of religious freedom. In the 16th century, France also established settlements in eastern North America, some Caribbean islands, and South America. The 7 Years' War in Europe spilled over into North America, leading to conflicts between England and France. By 1763, France had lost the war and was forced to cede control of Canada to England. In an effort to recoup their war losses, England imposed high taxes on their American colonies, which led to growing discontent among the colonists. In 1775, tensions between the colonies and England reached a boiling point, leading to the American Revolution. On July 4, 1776, the colonies declared their independence from England with the adoption of the Declaration of Independence, written by Thomas Jefferson. Despite facing significant challenges, the revolutionary forces led by General George Washington were ultimately successful in gaining independence from England with the financial and military support of France. In 1783, the Treaty of Paris was signed, officially recognizing the independence of the United States. In 1789, General George Washington was elected as the first president of the United States, marking the establishment of a new sovereign nation. In 1800, the United States experienced a significant change with the transfer of the Louisiana territory from Spain to France. France had plans to re-establish a French empire in the region. However, these plans were soon disrupted by France's involvement in Napoleon's wars with other European nations. In 1803, President Thomas Jefferson took advantage of this opportunity and purchased Louisiana from France, effectively doubling the size of the United States. The War of 1812 was a conflict between the United States and Great Britain. During the war, some indigenous peoples allied with the British to fight against the American settlers in the western part of the country. The conflict was marked by brutal battles and acts of violence, including the burning of the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. by the British. In the end, the United States emerged victorious, and the Anglo-American Treaty of 1818 established the boundary line between the U.S. and Canada along the 49th parallel, which later became the boundary line between the two countries in the West and the Oregon Territory. The victory in the war with England established the borders between North and West America, but it also had far-reaching consequences for the indigenous peoples who lived in the region. With the Louisiana Purchase and the wave of American westward expansion, the remaining land of the Native Americans was permanently taken and assimilated. This expansion also led to conflicts with Spain, a former ally of the U.S. After negotiations to resolve territorial disputes, the U.S. and Spain signed the Adams-Onis Treaty in 1819. Under the terms of the treaty, Spain agreed to cede Florida and the Oregon Territory to the U.S. in exchange for $5 million at the end of the war. In the southern region of Louisiana, Mexico proclaimed independence from Spain and emerged as a powerful nation. Similarly, Texas, which was originally colonized by European settlers, became a site of conflict between Mexico and the United States. After many American settlers migrated to Texas, they declared independence from Mexico and established the Republic of Texas. This event was a historic turning point and marked the start of ongoing tension and dispute between the two countries. In 1845, the Republic of Texas requested and was granted annexation by the United States. This led to a conflict between the U.S. and Mexico, resulting in Mexico recognizing the loss of Texas to the U.S. after a peace treaty was signed. With the expansion of its territory, the U.S. saw rapid industrialization through technological advancement in transportation, such as the building of canals and railroads. However, a divide between the pro-slavery South and anti-slavery North persisted. In the 1860 election, the Republican Party, which was supported by the northern states, elected Abraham Lincoln as president. This victory, as the Republican Party was against slavery, caused concern among slave-holding states in the South. Eventually, they declared their secession from the United States and established the Confederate States of America, leading to the American Civil War from 1861 to 1865. After 4 years of conflict, the Union forces under the leadership of President Lincoln and General Ulysses S. Grant emerged victorious over the Confederate forces led by General Robert E. Lee. The Union was preserved, slavery was abolished, and the U.S. underwent a period of reconstruction. In 1867, the U.S. purchased the Alaska region from Russia. Later, the U.S. gained control of the Hawaiian Islands and forced Japan to open its borders. In 1898, the U.S. initiated a war with Spain, which resulted in the U.S. acquiring the Philippines, Puerto Rico, and Guam through the Treaty of Paris. The United States emerged as the leading industrial power in the world at the turn of the 20th century due to the boom in private businesses in the North and the influx of millions of workers and farmers from Europe. During this time, the discontent among the middle class with issues such as corruption, inefficiency, and the traditional political system fueled the progressive movement from the 1890s to the 1920s. This movement pushed for reforms, granting women the right to vote and banning alcohol. In 1914, the outbreak of World War I saw the United States maintain a neutral stance at first, but taking advantage of the conflict by selling weapons to both sides. However, the Zimmermann telegram event in 1917, in which the German ambassador proposed an alliance between Germany and Mexico against the United States and to help Mexico regain its lost territories, prompted the U.S. to declare war against Germany. The United States claimed that Germany had violated its freedom of trade at sea, attacked its merchant ships, and ultimately contributed to the victory of the Allied powers, England, France, and Russia. As the victorious nation, the United States saw prosperity in the following years. The Great Depression, however, began in 1929 with the Wall Street stock market crash and lasted for a decade. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, a Democrat, implemented the New Deal, a series of reforms and programs aimed at recovery, reform, and improvement, which greatly influenced modern American liberalism. In 1939, World War II broke out again. Although the United States remained neutral at first, it didn't hesitate to take a stand against Japan's aggressive actions in Asia. The US began to impose a trade embargo on oil and steel with Japan. On December 7, 1941, Japan retaliated by launching a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, causing significant damage to the US Pacific Fleet. The United States then joined the Allies and helped defeat both Nazi Germany in Europe and the Japanese Empire in the Pacific. In September 1945, World War II came to an end when the US dropped two atomic bombs on Japan. On April 25, 1945, the United States, along with 50 other countries, established the United Nations in San Francisco. The United Nations is one of the largest and most important organizations for maintaining world peace, security, and promoting cooperative relationship between nations. After World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union emerged as superpowers and engaged in the Cold War. The US foreign policy during this time was focused on containing communism. The US participated in wars in Korea and Vietnam in pursuit of this goal, but both ended in failure. The Cold War came to a close in 1991 when the Soviet Union dissolved, leaving the United States as the sole remaining superpower. At the start of the 21st century, international conflicts centered around the Middle East and reached a climax with the 9/11 attacks in 2001. The United States was targeted by terrorists from the extremist group Al-Qaeda, who hijacked 4 passenger planes and deliberately crashed them into the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, killing nearly 3,000 people, mostly civilians. In response, President George W. Bush declared a war on terror on September 20, 2001. A few weeks later, on October the 7th, the United States and NATO invaded Afghanistan to overthrow the Taliban regime, which had provided a safe haven for Al-Qaeda and its leader Osama bin Laden. In 2003, the United States invaded Iraq, resulting in the downfall of the Iraqi government and the capture of dictator Saddam Hussein. The Bush administration justified the invasion by citing the need to promote democracy, remove weapons of mass destruction, and liberate the Iraqi people. Despite initial success, the prolonged Iraq War was met with the international criticism and increasing doubts among Americans. In 2007, President Bush implemented the search strategy in an effort to stabilize the situation, but to no avail. In 2008, President Bush's popularity was hit by the Iraq War and the 2008 financial crisis, leading to the election of Barack Obama, the first African-American president of the United States. After taking office, Obama reluctantly increased the number of troops in Iraq by 20,000. On December 15, 2011, the war was officially declared over and the last soldiers left Iraq. Meanwhile, Obama also increased the U.S. presence in Afghanistan and began a strategy to increase the number of troops there by 30,000. However, under President Joe Biden, the U.S. completed its troop withdrawal from Afghanistan on August 30th, 2021, ending 20 years of war and marking the return of the Taliban. Today, the United States is made up of 50 states and 5 territories, including Washington, D.C., Samoa, Guam, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. The flag of the United States has 50 stars to represent the 50 states and 13 stripes to represent the 13 original colonies that declared independence and became the first 13 states. The United States is considered a superpower in terms of economy and military, with a wide-reaching cultural impact. It is a member of many major global organizations, including NATO and the United Nations, and holds a prominent role on international stage as one of the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. The United States was the first country in the world to successfully put a man on the moon and possess nuclear weapons. Despite its status as a highly developed and advanced country, modern-day American society faces numerous challenges such as wealth inequality, unemployment, rampant gun violence, ineffective gun control, social inequality, ongoing racial discrimination, illegal immigration, and exorbitant healthcare and education costs. You've just finished watching the video. Let me know what you think by leaving a comment below. Please like and share if you enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe to Easy History and ring the bell so you don't miss the next exciting content.